Welcome to Breakup, Cheater, the place where shocking twists, cold revenge, and the truth behind happily ever after come to light. Here we dive deep into real-life stories of love gone wrong, exposing the betrayals, the heartbreak, and the comebacks you never saw coming. Imagine this. Your wedding is just weeks away. The venue's booked, the catering's paid for, the dress is hanging in the closet. And then, your fiancée walks in one night and says she needs to find herself. For 6 to 8 weeks, right before you say, I do. She packs her bags, hands you her house key, and vanishes into nights out, parties and trips with friends. But what she doesn't know is that the future she's coming back to won't be the one she left. Lucas and I had been together for 4 years and engaged for 9 months. Our wedding was scheduled for late summer. Her parents had gone all in. Venue booked, catering finalized, deposits locked down months in advance. We'd been living together for 2 years in the house I bought long before she ever came into my life. My name was the only one on the deed, and we'd always kept our finances separate. That arrangement was her idea, not mine. It was a Thursday evening. I was in the living room, laptop open, scrolling through work emails when she walked in. She didn't sit. She just stood there for a moment, fiddling with the cuff of her sweater, like she was trying to pick the right second to drop something heavy. Lucas, she began slowly, I think I need to find myself before we get married. I looked up, my fingers still resting on the keyboard. Find yourself. I repeated. I don't know, she said, eyes darting anywhere but mine. I want to be sure before we make this commitment. I think we should take a short break. 6 weeks, maybe 8. Just some time apart. Kept my face neutral. And where would you stay? Naomi offered her guest room, she said quickly. She's barely ever home with all her traveling. Then softer. I just need space to think without all this wedding pressure. Naomi. The single, never-married friend who had spent months telling her she was settling down too soon. It wasn't exactly a surprise that she'd be the one offering a soft landing for this so-called self-discovery. You're asking for a break, I said. Right before the wedding. It's not about you, she insisted. I love you. I just need to be sure. This will be good for us. I nodded slowly. Take all the time you need. Her shoulders relaxed like she'd been bracing for a fight. Really? You understand? I understand perfectly, I told her. She smiled faintly, relieved. That night, she pulled 2 large suitcases from the closet and began packing. Not for a weekend, but for every possible season. Clothes, heels, makeup kits, even framed photos from the dresser. Before leaving, she set her house key on the counter with a small, almost playful smile. Won't need this for a while. An hour later, she was gone. The house felt quieter than usual, but I didn't dwell on it. She thought I'd be here waiting for her epiphany. I already knew I wouldn't be. The next morning I brewed coffee and sat at the kitchen table, scanning the walls, the floor. Every inch of the home I had built for myself. Every square foot was mine, paid off before she even knew my name. I remembered a conversation from last year with a local property investor, Darren Boyd. He'd offered me well above market value for this place, but at the time, selling hadn't even crossed my mind. She'd loved this house. We were supposed to be building a future here. But now, this place no longer felt like ours. It was mine again. I found Darren's number and called. He answered immediately, still interested. He offered $390,000 in cash with a 45-day closing. I told him to send the paperwork, but I wouldn't commit until I checked my legal standing. That afternoon I sat across from my attorney, Mark Jensen, and explained everything. Mark confirmed what I suspected. Since I bought the house before our relationship, had no joint accounts, and her name was on nothing, she had no claim to it. Her half of the household expenses had been documented as rent, which legally made her a tenant, not an owner. I left his office with a simple, quiet plan. She wanted space. I'd give her all the space she needed, and I'd use that time to redesign my future without her. 2 weeks into her break, she'd called me twice. Short conversations. Surface level. But her social media, that told the real story. Friends sent me screenshots, rooftop bars with Naomi, dinner with strangers, beach photos captioned living in the moment. One video showed her at a club, dancing close to men I'd never seen before. I didn't confront her. I just kept every image. By the end of week 2, I texted her, "We should talk about your stuff here. What's your plan for it?" Her reply came fast. "Lucas, it's not like I moved out. Everything can stay. I'll be back before you know it." Called her. "You've been gone over 2 weeks. You left your key. Packed half your wardrobe. That's moving out in my book." "Don't be dramatic," she said. "This is temporary." "All right," I said. "You have 1 week to arrange pickup if you change your mind." She laughed lightly. "You're not serious." But I was. The next Thursday, a moving crew arrived. I took photos of every room as they boxed her belongings, labeled everything, and stored it in a rented unit. I texted her the address, unit number, and contact info. An hour later she replied, "I can't believe you're doing this. You asked for space. I'm giving you space." By week 4, I'd signed the sale agreement with Darren. The closing was set for 45 days, but he wanted immediate possession. I'd already secured a furnished downtown apartment, 9th floor, big windows minutes from my office. Meanwhile, she was in Las Vegas with Naomi. Poolside cocktails, VIP dinners, photos with men's arms around her. No effort to hide any of it. When closing day came, I signed the papers, exchanged keys, and walked out feeling lighter. She came back sooner than expected. 6 weeks after leaving. That Saturday morning, she called 3 times before I answered. "Lucas," she snapped, "there are strangers in our house. They say they own it. What's going on?" "They do own it," I said calmly. "I sold it last week." "You sold our house." "My house. Bought it before we met. Paid in full by me. You moved out. I made a decision." "That was temporary," she shouted. "You left for nearly 2 months, gave me your key, packed half your life, and went to live with Naomi. That's not temporary. I was finding perspective. Making sure I was ready to marry you." "I found perspective too," I said. "Turns out I was ready for a different future." Her voice broke. "You're throwing away 4 years." "No," I said. "You did that when you decided to see what else was out there." Over the next few days, Naomi called me, her mother called me, both trying to guilt me into understanding that this was just cold feet. But I'd seen the Vegas pictures, the late-night bar shots. That wasn't cold feet. That was a trial run at single life. When she showed up at my new apartment weeks later, I didn't let her inside. "The time apart didn't make you sure about us," I told her. "It made me sure about what I won't accept." 3 months later, our wedding date came and went. I'd moved on, and eventually I met Sarah, a project manager who, when I told her the story, shook her head and said, "Who does that before a wedding?" Who indeed? She wanted space. She just never thought space could feel so much like goodbye. She thought space meant freedom, with the wedding still waiting for her when she was done. What she didn't count on was that I could use that same space to make my own choice. In the end, she found herself all right, just not in the life we planned. And sometimes, goodbye isn't shouted. It's signed, sealed, and handed over in a set of house keys. You've been watching Breakup Betrayals, where every ending has a story, and every story has a lesson. If you enjoyed this tale, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss the next twist. Until next time. Remember, sometimes love ends quietly and sometimes it ends with fireworks.